Hi, guys. Hello. Welcome to my weekly immigration news show. My name is Marina Shepelsky. I'm a New York based immigration attorney in basically working with United States immigration. My office is in New York, but we work with people from all over United States and of course from around the world, helping people legalize in the United States, helping people get their American dreams to come true. I'm also an advocate for immigrants' rights, and I speak publicly about the rights of immigrants. I say what the right thing to do is with immigrants, and I'm always a big fan of immigrants in the United States because my belief is that immigrants make this country colorful, tasty, smart, unbeatable, because there's so many of us and we each bring our own ideas. This is a true democracy, a true melting pot. Here, people who come here get to make their dreams come true by working hard and doing the right thing. And that's very unique and it's unlike any other country in the world. So this is my show where I try to break down the most complicated immigration news and things that are happening with US immigration and politics in real simple terms and simple language, and explain how the most complicated things in the immigration legal system work. And I always answer questions at the end. We have a Q&A section, and I spend as much time as you guys need with your questions. It's still manageable for me, so I don't get like thousands yet, but hopefully one day I will. So here you still have the chance to find out what to do in your case, although nothing I say here is real, true legal advice. I invite you to call our phone number and give us a call at the office to schedule a consultation if you really need some help and like urgent advice what to do in your case. Otherwise, I'm here to give you good information, educational stuff, and I hope you have some, good times here. It's meant to entertain you as well. It's not just meant to be boring and for me to drone on. So I give you a chance to ask your questions, and I give you my honest opinions. I'm a little bit outspoken, so I hope I don't offend anyone. I try not to, but that's just my personality. I have a strong personality, so I'm going to just tell you how it is. I say hello to Mahesh. Hi, how are you? I say hello to Shanique. I say hello to Effie, who's asking me about news. Yes, I have some news. Keep with us. Stay tuned. I have some things to say. I say hello to Alumami. My gosh, I think I need glasses already. And I start with my news that I prepared for you guys for today. I have three major items, and I'm going to talk about them in detail. So I'm going to start with kind of bad news. So there's some good news and some bad news. I'm going to start with the most obvious bad news. An organization called the Human Rights Watch did an extensive investigation. They really did an investigation to find out what happens with ICE at the US border with people who ask for asylum. How are those people being treated? Because as you know, people who ask for asylum at the border often go to immigration jail, or they call it detention or detention camps. Okay, it means they don't just let these people out into the United States, they hold them in jail. A lot of them are children, women, people who obviously speak no English. And immigration advocates and immigration attorneys have been saying for a while that these people get abused by ICE, by the federal agents. But nobody wanted to listen, even though it was in the news all the time. Because as I always say, and if you've been watching, you'll know that I say this all the time, immigrants are not a sexy issue. Immigrants are not something that most of America is interested in solving. Like the problems of immigration, unfortunately, a lot of politicians are not interested in solving. So it's all like a blah, 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 blah. But it's not a blah, blah, blah. This is people who are dying, who are suffering, who are going through things by being arrested and put in immigration jails because they asked for asylum. They said, we're refugees, help us, save us. And this is what's happening with them. So here's what they found. They found shocking instances of criminal abuse of these people. Federal agents doing crimes upon these people. Sexual and physical abuse, forced hunger, brutal detention conditions despite COVID. Nothing with social distancing and nothing good is happening. I hear from my clients now that there's forced vaccination. So everybody who's going into detention is getting a free vaccine against COVID, but they're really not doing much else. A stash of documents they released says that this human rights group investigated for 6 years. They've been in courts and they've been looking at paperwork, and they found more than 160 cases of misconduct, criminal abuse of asylum seekers by Customs and Border Protection. Recently, if you guys have been watching the news, we saw footage and pictures of agents on horses using like these crops on Haitian refugees, hitting them with like this riding crop and hurting them. And that's obviously not part of what they're supposed to do with people asking to be refugees in America. So they found between 2016 and 2021, 160 cases of criminal misconduct, mistreatment of these refugees that ranged from child sexual assault, rape, enforced hunger, brutal detention conditions that border on torture. Okay? So these people are getting tortured by coming here. And a lot of people think living in America is like this wonderful thing. And for many it is. But if you come to the border, you don't have a visa, and you put yourself at the mercy of U.S. government workers, many of them are crazy in the head and they abuse these people. So that's what's up. And some of these incidents are real criminal stuff. And these people should go to jail and not be the jailers. They're the ones who need to go to jail. And remember, people who are in immigration jails, majority of them are not criminals. They just go to jail because they don't have immigration status, because they came without a visa and they need to hold them and keep control of them. It doesn't mean that they're in jail because they did anything wrong. Some of them are little kids. Some of them are young girls and young boys, okay? But the people who are keeping them in jail, the ICE agents, are real criminals because they're adults, they're government workers, they're trained, they have specific, preparation and training and background, and they do crimes on these poor victims who can't complain, who don't speak English, and cannot make a big deal out of it, the way an American person would. So that's what's going on. So I started with that. The next item is good news, amnesty news. Maybe you heard that in the last few weeks, there's been a back and forth with the Democrats in the U.S. Congress pushing for a real plan to have an amnesty, a reform to legalize the DACA kids, to legalize essential workers and give them green cards, to get people citizenship and green cards who otherwise weren't eligible before, because frankly, these people have been here for so many years. They really help our economy. They work in the essential worker positions. And the kids who were brought here as children, they had no control that their parents brought them here. Why not give them a chance? Why not give them a way to legalize? So that's the reform they were discussing. The Senate has a parliamentarian. It's a woman now, but it's a lawyer that the Senate hires to decide what things they can push through and what things they shouldn't include in the laws that come out for passing, every year. So right now, what they're working on is a budget balancing or reconciliation act. So that's my friend was asking here, what's going on? If there's any news, I'm going to highlight this right here. Effie, this is the answer to your question, okay? So the parliamentarian said no twice to the plans that the Democrats had for including the amnesty right in the Budget Reconciliation Act, right? So they were trying to include it in the very next thing that's going to come out as law, the very soonest, the one that's coming up the quickest, and it might happen right away, right? They said, okay, let's include this immigration amnesty. Biden has been promising people from the day he got elected to make something happen, some amnesty, right? But unfortunately, she turned them down. She said they're completely unrelated. Okay, legalizing people who've been without any kind of status in America for years and years cannot be connected in any way to our budget, the federal government's budget. It's all the money they spend on programs and stuff. Reconciliation, balancing of the government checkbook for next year. We cannot include it. The idea of immigration law should be a separate law. So the news this week is that there's been a lot of people who are in Congress, Democrats, writing letters to the Democratic top leaders, the leadership, saying, we can just ignore what she says. She's hired by us. She's our employee. She's not the speaker. She's not the president. She doesn't have political or constitutional veto power. She has no power to stop us. We are politicians. We are lawmakers. If we want to put this in, we can. Let's ignore what she said. To hell with her. We're just going to pass this amnesty, pick a good plan, because there's been now plan A, there's been a plan B. I don't know what plan C is going to be. They definitely wanted to legalize DACA and essential workers. Everyone else, I'm not sure about yet. And so far, there's been no comment from Chuck Schumer. He's pretty much the head of Democrats in Congress right now, and other leadership members of Democrats who are in Congress. But that's what's going on. They're really pushing to make this happen. Another item in the news is that Trump created this whole thing for refugees who are asking for asylum at the border to register and go back and wait in Mexico. It was called the Wait in Mexico policy. So when Biden got elected, the first thing they got rid of is this Wait in Mexico policy. They said anybody who's coming in as refugees, let's let them in. Let's release them into the United States. Let them go. What happened was all these people from around the world kind of heard that message. They kind of knew that a change in government from Trump to Biden would mean more friendly treatment of refugees. And they stormed pretty much our border. There's a border crisis happening right now. And this is part of why like all these abuses are happening, not to excuse the abuses, but they're overwhelmed. ICE and Border Control, they cannot handle all these people who are coming in. And despite the fact that in August, Department of Homeland Security, who is now led by a new guy, a new director, Alexander Mayorkas, a son of immigrants, a Cuban immigrant, you could say the second generation, officially declared that they're getting rid of this Wait in Mexico program. Now they've asked for permission to bring it back because they just cannot handle all the refugees who are pretty much just running to the border, running. There's no space for everyone. COVID, means they have to space them out. They have to give them vaccines. They can't control all of this mayhem, this chaos that's going on at the border. And because of that, they asked for permission to bring that stuff back. The only thing right now that they're waiting for is for the Mexican government to say they're okay with this. That Mexico is okay to let all these people ask for asylum, not go into the United States, but just come back to Mexico. Because most of them are crossing the border in Mexico, okay? So that's what's going on with the Wait in Mexico policy. And finally, for my Russian friends who speak Russian, who are from Russia and have any interest in anything Russian, like me, Russia has been declared a homeless nationality officially by our U.S. government. For those of you who don't know, this summer, Russia declared the American embassy to be like illegal in employing non-Russian employees. They said you have to get rid of all your American workers because of some crazy law they decided to apply to the U.S. Consulates and embassy in Russia. So United States wrapped up all its stuff and pretty much left Russia. The United States consulate no longer does anything consular for any citizens of Russia. So what happened was a lot of cases that were already in process got stuck. People here who filed to unite with family members who live in Russia who are Russian citizens. Because of COVID, they got stuck and they already waited 2 years for interviews on cases that were already approved, already processed, just needed an interview. Because the Russian consulate is no longer working, all of us didn't know what was going to happen. We were waiting for guidance, for leadership in immigration to tell us what's going to happen to cases that usually would be interviewed in Moscow, in the U.S. embassy there. Yesterday, they made a change to law, and they changed the Immigration and Nationality Act by changing Russia to a homeless nationality country. Now, Russia joins a list of countries that are terrible, like Cuba, like Iran, like Libya, Somalia, Venezuela. These are countries that the United States called and designated as unsafe and unstable to the point where we, United States, cannot have any diplomacy there. We don't have a consulate in those countries. And those countries are designated as homeless nationality countries. Russia joins them. And that means that they were directed to take all the cases that are supposed to be interviewed and processed by consular workers in Russia, reroute them now to Warsaw, to Poland. Poland will be taking the Russian cases. I think the Polish U.S. embassy is very upset because before this happened, we were calling them. We had some Russian cases. We were talking to them, to Ukraine. None of them wanted these cases. They're already overwhelmed with their own cases. U.S. citizens filing for parents and children and wives and getting U.S. birth certificates in the consulate. They had enough going on with their own cases that they were backlogged on. But now the government gave them a direct order. They changed the law and said, look, Russia is now going to be a homeless nationality country. And we are pretty much in Cold War, okay? Because this is like a declaration of war. To call Russia a homeless nationality and put them in the same list, and they're now in the middle of the list with Cuba, with Iran, with Libya, with Somalia, these terrible dictator-type countries. By the way, China is not in that list. China is not a homeless nationality. China has a U.S. embassy. It's just basically telling us we are back to Cold War, the way things were, kind of with Reagan, but even worse now. So that's what's up, and this takes me to my topic that I prepared today, and it's related. I'm going to talk about family petitions. People who live here often are immigrants themselves. So immigrants are either green card holders or U.S. citizens. Now they're Americans, and they want to bring their families here. How to do this, how to bring them here, and I'm going to break it down into categories, right? So let's start talking about U.S. citizens filing for family members. Family petitions for U.S. citizens as petitioners, as people who are filing the petition, right? The immediate visa category, that's a legal name for it. That's a term of art, a legal term. Immediate relative categories are categories where there's no visa wait. The visas are available no matter what happens. There's no quota, there's no line. When you file, you just have to wait for the time your case gets processed and you're going to get a visa. There's no waiting time for the visa to be available. Immediate relative categories include U.S. citizens filing for parents, for children under 21, and for husbands and wives, spouses. What does that mean for those people? The people that are getting united, they're called beneficiaries, right? So a U.S. citizen filing for their mother, for example, can only file for their mother and can only file for their father. They need to have separate petitions, first of all. Second of all, unlike other categories I'll be discussing later, your mom cannot include and bring with her your brother or sister, like your younger or older siblings. It just doesn't work like that. They have to either file for them once they become green card holders, or you can file for your sibling a family petition that's a separate petition. So that's the one catch to being in the immediate visa category. They don't include any family members. And it also comes up when a U.S. citizen files, let's say for their dad, okay? Their dad is divorced or widowed from the mom, they're remarried. So you can file for the dad, but the stepmother is not coming. She cannot be included in the petition. The only exception is if your dad married the stepmom when you were still under 18. If they married when you were growing up, they have to come here and file for the stepmom in a separate petition. Okay, we got that. I move on. So those are U.S. citizen immediate visa categories. There's also non-immediate visa categories, and they have wait times. They have to wait for visas to become available to them based on the date the petition was filed and actually received by USCIS, and that's called a priority date. And those are children over 21, married children, even if sometimes they're under 21. Married children, single children over 21 years old, and brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens. Now, these categories indeed can bring their spouse and their kids with them when they come to America, and they will all get green cards in one interview, in one shot. We move on to green card holder categories. What does that mean? If you have a green card, you can file for some of your family to come to the United States and join you. For example, we've had really good news lately that green card holders filing for spouses and children under 21, there's no wait. The visas are available immediately. They're current in this category. So green card holders filing for husband and wife or kids under 21, their family usually comes here within 1.5 years to 2 years. That's pretty much just the processing times, and they're not the quickest to process either, especially now because of COVID. And if you guys have any questions here about delays, I have just 2 ideas for you. Why there are delays? First of all, COVID. They can't schedule as many people. They cannot stuff them in the room. And also, there's a lot of people who are like getting sick, working from home, and so on. That slows things down. And the second part is, if it's anything that has to do with cases being processed right here in the United States, a lot of people had to be let go from USCIS work because they're not vaccinated yet. So right now, because of President Biden, who ordered that everybody who works for the government has to have a vaccine to go to work, to be in the office, not everybody had a vaccine. Only half of the US population as of right now has the vaccine. So people who worked for USCIS who were not vaccinated are either fired or, laid off or, I don't know, anything like that, frozen or whatever, but they're not coming to the office. So that slows things down even more. So that's one explanation of all the questions about delays here. Okay, we'll move on with green card holders filing for the last category is green card holders can file for their kids who are single over 21. If the kids are married, green card holders cannot file for them, okay? If your kid gets married and you're just a green card holder, there's no more green card category for them. There's no such thing. Their case is finished. It ends right there, and you have to become a U.S. citizen to file for them. The wait for kids over 21 of U.S. citizens and the wait for brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens is huge, okay? Siblings, brothers, and sisters, it takes like 15 years, 1-5, to join the brother or sister in America. Married children of U.S. citizens also takes like about 9 to 10 years now. Okay. Finally, I want to say there are categories of family members that no one can file for. You cannot file for grandparents. You can't. You can't bring grandparents here. You cannot file for your cousins. You cannot legalize your aunts or your uncles. And you cannot legalize your nephews and nieces. There's no direct petition for that. They would have to get their immediate family members, like spouses, parents, children, to file for them. You cannot. All right. So depending on what category your relationship with the family member here falls into, also decides if you can get a green card in the United States or not. And if you have any questions like that, you can give us a call and we can discuss. This pretty much ends the part that I prepared ahead of time, and I'd like to spend some time answering your guys' questions. So I'm going to start scrolling for comments here. All right. Many people are saying hello. Hi, I'm happy to see you. Shanique says, I have advanced parole on my work permit card. Is it possible to travel using the card? How do I use it? Do I have to get a stamp in my passport in order to use it? It's a great question, but I don't really have one kind of answer. If you have the advanced parole, that probably means you're waiting for a green card. Usually, advanced parole is people who are in one way or another waiting because they filed for a green card. If you're here on a family petition, you're waiting for a family petition, you just need to take your paper, your card, your advanced parole card, and go. You don't need a stamp. You'll be fine. As long as you go and you come back before your interview, if your case is not denied while you're traveling, you're fine. You can go and come back with the advanced parole. Some categories of people, I tell them not to travel. If you've ever been deported before from the United States and you have the advanced parole, you should not travel. If you have like old deportations, and they were not like reopened, you still have them. They're on the books. You've been deported. You have an order of deportation from an immigration judge or expedited removal. You should not use the advanced parole. If you're waiting for asylum, you should not use the advanced parole. If you go, they're not letting you back in. Remember, when you're using the advanced parole, it means they tell you, the government told you you can go and come back. But if things change while you go and you come back, like if your case got denied or something else terrible happens, they might not let you come back in. So you can travel, but just do it carefully and understand there's always a chance something can go wrong. And another thing I tell people, and now I'm seeing this in practice, if you go to like third countries, not your home, but let's say you are from India and you have the advanced parole and you want to travel to Mexico, they might not let you in, because they might tell you to just go to India and come back from India. So I've seen that happen where they don't want to deal with your advanced parole when you just went to some other country that's not even related to you. Okay, they will not get into it. They don't know how it works, so they might not let you in. So if you do have advanced parole, I recommend you only go visit your home country and come back pretty quickly. So that's my answer here. Angel says, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Obeying says, hi. Please, which status can I file for after my asylum proceedings have been terminated? It's hard to say. You should give us a call. We'll do a consultation. If your asylum case was denied, it probably means if they didn't send you to immigration court that you were in some kind of status or you had status, so they couldn't get you into deportation. So we can talk about what statuses you can change to. It's different. I don't tell people. You can ask me what you were thinking about, and we will tell you in our office what our thoughts are, but we don't suggest statuses to people. While on a B1, B2 visa, says Mohammed, hi, what are the prospects of applying for an E2 visa? How long does it take? If you do things right, you have excellent prospects of applying for an E2 visa. E2 visa is for people who want to invest in an American business here, and there's rules about it. So it's usually for entrepreneurs, business people who want to open a business or buy an existing business or start a business. It has to do with opening a new business, or joining an existing business and invest money in the U.S. economy. You get a temporary visa with a work permit to be here for 1, 2, or 3 years. It depends. You have good, prospects if you have a great business plan, if you satisfy all the requirements of the E2 visa, if you can show the money you're investing is your money. It's not like dirty money from any crimes or anything like that. So there's a lot of questions for E2 visas, but you can change your status in the United States from B1, B2 to E2. Thank you for your question. Art says, great job, Marina. Thank you so much. Art Show says, is the self-petition same as VAWA? VAWA is one of those petitions that a person can file for themselves. So yes, it is a self-petition. But there are other self-petitions, like people with extraordinary, outstanding professional art and sports abilities can also petition for themselves and do self-petitions. But yes, VAWA is often called the I-360 self-petition. Let me see if there's going to be more questions. Let's see. I'm scrolling to see if there's more questions. Let's see. I'm going to check on Facebook. My internet, by the way, in my house is terrible. My team, I have a team that helps me with uploading videos, editing them, is always crying and complaining that when I film a video and I give them the link, the video that I filmed is still uploading and it takes forever. So they're always complaining to me that my internet sucks. And it's true, it does suck at my house. I don't know why. You think you live in America, in a city. I don't live in the middle of a desert or anything. And my internet is just bad. I don't know why. I can't open my Facebook right now. So this is all I got right now. We talked about the advanced parole. Oh, here's a new question. Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. You saved me. He says, hello, madam. I have applied for asylum in 2016 and still waiting for my interview. I have my family here and kids. I don't know how to adjust my status, mentally depressed because I can't go to my country. I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. Sadly, you're one of thousands of people who filed as early as 2015, 2016, and still haven't been called or scheduled for their asylum interview. They're stuck. Some of them are not even able to see their children. I've had cases where people say while they're here waiting for asylum, 1 or 2 or some of their kids are back home with parents. Parents died. So now the kids have no one to be with, what to do. There's nothing you can do. You cannot travel. You cannot adjust status. The only thing you can do is, maybe write a letter asking to expedite. If you're mentally depressed and you get a doctor's letter saying that waiting is making your health much worse, and it's inhumane to make somebody who is depressed and unwell mentally, and the thing that's triggering them is the wait. Maybe if you get a psychiatrist, a psychologist letter, we can try to expedite your case. And I cannot promise the results. I don't lie to people, but you have a chance at least to expedite like that. But there's no other way to adjust your status. Another person with a very similar situation, Mr. Samuel, says, hello, ma'am. I have a pending asylum case since 2015. So I just mentioned that. And no interview date yet. Please, what do you advise, ma'am? As I said, it's sad, but there's really not much I can do for you or any immigration attorney because everyone is waiting. The delays are horrendous. What happened was when Trump came in, he made this law that anybody filing for asylum, new people filing for asylum, should have an interview within 60 days, 30 days, really quickly. And they've been doing that. So anybody new who's filing for asylum now is getting an interview very quickly. People like you, Mr. Samuel and Mr. Iqbal, who filed in 2015, 2016, 2017, still get pushed back and wait. The only good thing is that you have your work permit, you're here legally, and you just have to be patient. I don't know what else to say. I'm so sorry it's happening to you. The only thing that we can try, as I mentioned before to the question to Mr. Iqbal, if you have a doctor's letter or a psychiatrist's letter, or there's something humanitarian, like something terrible is happening in your country to your family, you can try to expedite them. We can write them a letter and see what happens. Laura says, hi, can a minor apply for asylum without parents? Absolutely. And there's a special petition called SIJ, or Special Immigrant Petition for Juvenile Immigrants, that you can file straight for green card if you're a minor in the United States asking for status, right? So the way you file is the following. You first go to family court and you get a guardianship going, but you need a guardian for the kid, for the minor. When the person is established to have no parents in the United States and need a guardianship proceeding, after that, we ask immigration to get the kid a green card through the Special Immigrant Juvenile Petition. We say, yes, the parents are alive somewhere. They're more or less an orphan because they have no parents in the United States. Take pity on them and give them a green card. So you can have either asylum or the Special Immigrant Juvenile Petition. We can help. Give us a call. Let's see what other questions I have. Elvi says, hello, ma'am, from Philippines. Hello. Niala says, hi. Bharat says, hello, I'm from India. Hi. Okay. Madam, how much is cost for K1 adjustment of status through merit cost at this moment? So you have the fiancé visa, you were approved. I assume you're here. Give us a call. We first do a consultation. Make sure you're eligible. Our consultation is $230. And after that, we can decide how much your case will be. I don't really have like set prices. It depends on how complex the case is. Parole says, we are applying for immigrant family visa from October 2011 and still no good news. If you have any updates, thank you. So you must be stuck in one of those long categories like married children of U.S. citizens or brothers or sisters of U.S. citizens. There's no updates because of COVID. Everything is even more delayed than usual. Check the current visa bulletin and see where you are. And you can go to departmentofstate.gov. Actually, just Google the words current visa bulletin, and you can go straight to the link with this month's bulletin to see what dates they're working on right now. This wraps up my video. I did everything I planned to do. I see no more questions, and I'm really happy that I got this opportunity to speak to you guys for the second time this week, because I did one on Monday too, that compensated for the one I skipped last Friday because I had to go with my mom to a surgery she had. So hopefully nothing bad will happen. And next week, I'll see you guys at 11 on Friday, or maybe 12. We'll see. Stay tuned. I usually schedule it a couple of hours ahead, so you can just check on Friday morning what's going on. See you soon. Speak to you soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Parole says, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I hope you guys aren't sick of me yet, but there's going to be more of me next week if you're not. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.